All right, creatures of the night. Welcome to episode 222 of Talking Taker, the encyclopedic exploration dig up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time, The Undertaker. My name is Alex Dorio. I want to thank all you out there in the Pod Street crew for joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking. And I am joined, as always, by my tag team partner, my wrestling buddy, fellow PSK member, fellow creature of the night. And long before he was a creature of the night, he was a little stinger. I'm talking about Mr. Travis White. And I say that tonight, Travis, because we're for one night only, one special edition of the podcast. We are no longer talking Taker. We are screaming Stinger or speaking Sting. I mean, squawking Sting. I don't know.
Spitting venom.
Oh,
there we go.
Yes, boy.
Spitting venom.
That's it, man.
There we go. Welcome
That's why
to
we pay you the big bucks. That's right. Yeah. No, this is going to be a very unique episode of the podcast, a one and only episode here. But you and I both are huge fans of the man called Sting. We always have been, and I think those two guys, they never faced each other. That was the dream match. So many fans our age always dreamed about seeing The Undertaker versus Sting. Well, we're going to kind of fantasize about that tonight. We're going to think about what that might have looked like. How could that have ever happened? When would that have happened? What would the match have looked like? Fantasy book that match and just share some favorite memories of Sting, because after an incredible, almost 40-year career in the ring at this point. We're looking at 39 years since he made his professional debut. Sting is going to be wrapping things up with his final match in AEW here the weekend this comes out in March at AEW Revolution. I mean, unbelievable. We got to pay tribute to Sting, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say we're sending out an SOS. This, see if we can get this match saved, get this match to come to fruition. So, because it never did in real life. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We can always dream. But and we're going to get into it. We're going to share some favorite Sting memories, talk about the highlights of his career before we fantasy book The Undertaker versus Sting.
Number one highlight was his hair in the 90s.
Well, we're going to talk about our favorite Sting haircuts. That's kind of one of the questions I want to ask you, because some iconic ones. But, man, just like right off the bat, when you think of Sting, what comes to mind? Why are you such a big fan of Sting?
I think I talked about this early on, maybe episode 1 of Talking Taker, 221 episodes ago. He is what drew me to professional wrestling. Again, he is the guy who I saw and was just like, I don't know what that is, man, but I like it, and I like this guy. And then to kind of go away from it and then come back to it years later, 5 years later, and he had completely changed his persona, but he was still the guy that drew me in. And we'll get into that more later on as we go. So, early on in my infancy of wrestling fandom and in my, adolescence, he was the guy that drew me in both times, and hooked me both times. And so I've just been a fan ever since. Plus, he's just a stand-up guy, after he kind of got over his personal demons and stuff. He's just a great dude, not selfish. He just had everything, man. He wasn't like a Kurt Angle in the ring, but he didn't need to be. And guess what? Neither was Undertaker. Like, Undertaker wasn't that early on. He just had a presence, an aura, a charisma, and had it with when he spoke and when he didn't speak. He still had charisma. So we'll get into that later on. But yeah, he's the guy that drew me in, and so I'll always just be, enamored by him. So
yeah, so many people that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, you're flipping. We talked earlier on in the series too about like comic books. Like, wrestling is like comic books come to life. So like when I first opened X-Men, I saw them. Wolverine just drew me in. I'm a huge Wolverine fan. He just has something about his appearance, his charisma that he has that comes off the page. Sting's the same way. With DC, it was Batman. There's just something about him that just jumps off the pages to you or off the screen or whatever. And those are my guys. Like, Sting was my guy. Wolverine's my X-Men, my Marvel guy, and Batman's my DC guy. It's just, that's it. So I don't know.
Dude, I love the Wolverine comparison, actually. I never thought about that, but I think he's very much embodies a lot of those same spirits and qualities, sort of the pillar, the backbone of the X-Men, and is that character that draws so many people in. And I know so many people listening to Talking Taker, the Undertaker was that person for them. And so in many ways, you know, if you weren't watching WWE, if you flipped on to TNT or TBS before you flipped on to USA, and a different company's wrestling drew you in for a kid, that was probably Sting for a lot of people out there. And you know, I think they were both just the pillars of their company, these icons, the guys that stayed with their companies through thick and thin, who never jumped. And I think that's why, even though their characters weren't necessarily the most you know, similar, I think people saw those qualities in those guys, and that's why we fantasized about that match for so long. And it was just, you know, and Sting stayed away from WWE for so long. The Undertaker was so associated with WWE. We always dreamed about what that match could have looked like.
And once they both got to a certain point, pretty early in their career, they weren't going to be first match guys. They were always going to be in some kind, maybe not main event, but, you know, upper mid card, you know, and even their matches, even if they weren't for a title or story, it still meant something because it was Sting and because it was Undertaker. We talk all the time about Undertaker did not ever need a championship to like make his story, you know, important. Sting never did either, you know, especially when he went to Crowston. Like, he didn't need a championship for that kind of stuff. It was just, you know, once they reached a certain early on in their careers, once they reach a certain echelon, it was just like you're not, no matter what you do, you're not taking them back down. They're always going to be viewed as something more than, you know, than where they began. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, even to this day, even in 2024, an incredible career. We're never going to be able to encapsulate everything, but we're going to talk about some of our highlights, some of our favorite moments throughout the years, and favorite memories of Sting before we fantasy book the dream match, Undertaker versus Sting. So very excited, very different kind of episode for us, but I think it'll be a fun one. I hope all you out there in the PSK will enjoy it. Before we get into that, of course, we got to do our monthly Undertaker sighting segment. And this month's Undertaker sighting segment, we're going to say it's going to be sponsored by tpublic.com. So everybody out there, head over to tpublic.com because that's where you can find all of our Talking Taker merch. You can get all of the classics, man. Sting, you know, Sting has had so many great shirts, so much great merch throughout his career. And so have we over 7 years, not quite 40 years. What's your favorite Talking Taker shirt to wear these days, Travis?
Oh, I think right now I like the Half Decade of Destruction one. I wear that one a lot, you know. That was what came out in 2022, I guess. So yeah. It's crazy. So
it's getting out of date.
Exactly. So I like that one. You know, it's good. I don't have King of Gong style, but I need to get that. I do like that shirt. But
there's all sorts of designs throughout the year. This podcast.
Take Her Easy is my favorite, actually. You know, just to Take Her Easy, the classic early one, and then you updated the date on it later on. So it's good. I have both of those. So
yeah, we got the Take Her Easy, the iconic shirt. I've been wearing my PSK shirt a lot. Ooh, yeah. PSK Pride, that's my favorite one to rock these days. But that's the great thing about TeePublic. You can get any of our shirts, any of our designs on any kind of shirt. You can pick the color. I mean, most of them look good on black, but you know what? If you want to get it on a neon green shirt, you can do it. If you want to get it on tie-dye,
Honor Sting,
you can do it. Yep, yeah, exactly. You can get it on tank top, a long sleeve, a hoodie, a baby onesie. It's crazy how many Talking Taker baby onesies are out there in the universe.
It's true.
It's way more than I ever could have imagined. So that's very cool. And, you know, a little bit of that money goes to help support the show. So we love it. It is WrestleMania season. So if you want to rock a shirt supporting your favorite podcast, supporting, you know, the greatest competitor in WrestleMania history, go over to tpublic.com and pick up a Talking Taker shirt. You'll be the talk of the town or your talk of your WrestleMania party. You can rock it out in Philly. Folks, if you wear one of our Talking Taker shirts out in Philly, take a picture of yourself out in WrestleMania weekend, just send it to us.
On us.
We'll send you something. We'll send you something special. And most importantly, if you wear your Talking Taker shirt to a One Dead Man show and get a picture of yourself in the Talking Taker shirt with the Undertaker, we will send you a very special mystery prize. Randy Turco, I know he is still waiting on his prize, so I got to get that together here in the next couple weeks. And I have not forgotten about you, Randy. We will get that out to you because you earned it, sir, after all your hard work. And that prize is still available to anybody out there.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. So tpublic.com, you can always search for or wait for one of the sales to go on because, probably once or twice a month, they got everything on sale for usually 35% off. So all the great T-shirts, all the great merch is up there on tpublic.com. It's not too expensive. It prints on demand and it's the best. I don't know what else to say.
That's right. It's the bee's knees.
All right. This month in Undertaker Sightings. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Travis, for my birthday present that you sent me. I didn't open it on the air, but I do want to show it off here because our fans will enjoy it.
That's vintage right there.
Now, were you trying to tell me something about my breath or about my dental hygiene by sending me a 1999 Undertaker toothbrush?
Brother, I'm just glad it came in a package and it wasn't bristle out. Like the bristles were all frayed. So no, man, I just thought it was a cool piece of paraphernalia to have.
I might have to start a new collection and collect
exactly.
them all.
I'm trying to, you're done with the figures,
That's
so
right.
I thought maybe you could start something else. Trying to get you
toothbrush collection.
Yeah, Talking Taker toothbrush collection.
So, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I needed that. So thank you for that.
And you got a carrot top mask.
Oh yeah, the Undertaker Halloween mask. It's harder to get to. I put it in a good spot. I can't quite get it down, but I appreciate
leave
that.
it up there. Only might touch that.
I want to show you this. You see that right there? Oh.
That says Dead Man. Yes, I like that.
Officially licensed Undertaker friendship bracelet from WWE Shop.
Dang, the Swifties have infiltrated Takers.
They have, man.
Dang.
Courtesy of Steven Zeman.
Awesome.
He bought the 3-pack, sent one to me, sent one to Randy Turco. So we got our Undertaker friendship bracelets on.
That's cool.
Undertaker was talking about Taylor Swift on his latest YouTube video.
Was he?
He's talking about the Super Bowl. So I guess so.
Good for him.
So yeah, the crossover is there.
She's fantastic.
But anybody can get one of those out there on WWE Shop. We can mention the Undertaker's YouTube channel. He posted his latest full podcast over there. He got his new studio there. He's, if you want to hear his thoughts on the Super Bowl or you want to hear him read ads for daily fantasy wagering sites, you could do that on the 6 Feet Under YouTube channel.
Did you repost that on our Twitter? It was like Mick Foley.
Yes.
What did he say? Something like, I didn't think I'd see this day when Taker was a YouTuber.
YouTube guy, and The Rock was back.
And The Rock was back in WWE. It's just wild.
We're living in a crazy time, man. But very popular. I mean, his YouTube channel is getting huge numbers, and it's awesome to see him, fulfilling that new outlet of creativity. Still a lot of good content over there on his YouTube channel. So I know a lot of our creatures of the night are checking that out. Let's talk about this, man. A lot of big news over in Saudi Arabia this month for the Undertaker. He appeared at this huge soccer match. And Travis, I know you're a huge soccer fan, so you want to fill us in on the details of that one? To explain the significance of that?
I mean, I'm a huge Pee Wee League soccer fan because in fact, my daughter's going to start playing this year. So nice. A couple weeks from the dropping of this, she'll start practicing. So yeah, man, I know nothing about soccer. I just know that it's universal. Anybody can kick a ball. So it's why it's the most popular sport. Any country you can kick a ball around. So but this was a huge thing. Like he was over there and was it Riyadh? Anyway, somewhere in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's Riyadh. It's called the Riyadh Season Cup.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess it was a championship game of some sorts, and he was there presenting the trophy
as the Dead Man. Comes out as the character that's retired, that we haven't seen since Survivor Series 2020. Comes out in Saudi with that and presents the trophy and all that stuff, and it was just blowing my brain, dude. I was just what is happening right now? So it's insane, dude. But I loved it.
we have long said we thought for sure, he would make an entrance as the Dead Man again, because the last one he did was not in front of fans. It was in the Thunderdome for that final farewell. So we thought for sure at some point we get to see that. We just didn't expect it to be at a Saudi Arabian soccer match.
Right?
Unannounced, out of nowhere. I cannot imagine the amount of money that went into his bank account for that one, man.
Oh, so it had 2 commas in it, probably.
I was about to say, you think it was 6 figures or 7?
If it was 6, it was the top end of the 6 figure.
Yeah,
I'd
easily,
say.
brother. Easily.
I mean, I'll be happy to fly to Saudi Arabia
more power to
for 6 figures and dress up as the Undertaker.
Well, you could fly to Saudi Arabia and experience the Undertaker experience at the WWE
Experience
World, WWE Experience. What
it's
is
called
it
WWE
called?
Experience. Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy, and like, it's just all this. It's just all this cool stuff. It's almost like fan access stuff for WrestleMania week, but it's just like there in like this standalone area they have. And the Undertaker's one's like this graveyard thing. But they
made it sound like it's almost like an escape room. Like there's like interactive stuff you do in it. I mean, the pictures and video look crazy.
Yeah, and they have like, you can create your own other parts of it. You can come out and do your own entrance, and there's like a ring, and you can take pictures in it and do all kind of stuff. And they had some wrestlers over there just as we were recording this week. This is President's Day. They had them over a couple of days ago, and some of those people that were there like a day and a half ago were on Raw tonight. This is insane, dude. Those folks flying back and probably getting no sleep and performing on Raw. It's wild.
And then they're going to be in Australia this week.
And they're leaving for Australia tomorrow morning as we speak. Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, man, this graveyard thing looks pretty cool. I'd love to see it at like an Access, or I don't know, whether they make a freaking Hall of Fame that's standalone and just do it in Orlando. Why not?
Yeah, everything else is don't do it in Saudi Arabia.
No.
But yeah, this is like, they announced WWE World for WrestleMania is going to be like, I guess I thought it was going to be the same thing or a similar thing, but I guess the thing in Saudi is supposed to be permanent, like semi-permanent at least.
Yeah. If it's not permanent, it's definitely one of those like, pop-up shop things that's going to stay for probably 6, 8, 9 months or whatever. Attraction things.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Man.
Well, if any of our fans, anybody listeners are go to it, I mean, we'd love a full report. We'd love to hear all about it.
Oh yeah,
for real. And then Travis, I think we got to talk about before we get into today's episode, we've got to talk about Mooney-gate. That's what I'm calling it. Yeah, we talked about on last month's episode.
I gotta add to this.
Yeah, what's the original story for everybody?
Original story was I was prepping for the Coliseum video, and I was sitting there watching, and my oldest came in. I don't remember when one of my kids came in. And was like, "Dad, it looks like you." And I was like, "What?" It was Sean Mooney. And then he made me pull up a picture of me, like with short hair, like, from a little while ago. And he was like, "Yeah, it looks just like you." I was like, "No, it doesn't." So he got my other son in here, and he agreed. And then my daughter came in and said, "No." So you put it up on.
And you took them out of your will at that point.
I did, yeah. Yes. I took the boys out. They're no longer in it. So I only took her to Disney World, not the boy. I'm just kidding. I did not. But yeah. I definitely, she was my favorite daughter. That's for sure. So, because she did not choose that I look like Sean Mooney. So, but then like you posted it on social media, and I shared it on my Facebook as well. And my mother-in-law was like, "You're more handsome than that man." And all this stuff like that. Like, yeah, he's from the 80s, like the 90s. Like the picture is from 30 years ago. But I had a guy the next morning when I reposted on my Facebook, but the side by side that you had put together. I walked into a building at work, and this guy was like, Sean. And I was like, just walking by, and then finally he goes, "Hey, Sean." I turned around, and I was like, "Dang, you got me, dude." Yeah, Randy got me, dude. I was like, I see what you're doing there. I thought he was just being dumb, but no, he was calling me Sean Mooney. So I appreciated that.
Randy Turco said he can't unsee it.
Yeah, me neither.
Mike Prue from the Bottom Line Cast said you just need to embrace it. You look like him, and John Stamos. So just roll with it. Just embrace it. The people overwhelmingly spoke, man. They agreed.
I got told yesterday at church that I was looking, if I had some sunglasses, I looked like Jim Morrison on the cover of one of those Doors albums. So here we go.
Dang, that's impressive too. So just embrace it. You are the illegitimate son of Sean Mooney. I think we can all agree.
If I'd had time tonight, I should have put some white face paint on and some crow stuff on because I was growing my hair out like the crow sting.
I wish you would have.
Yeah, well, I had to put the kids to bed immediately before this and wipe that down, so it would have been a little weird.
You go do it while we're recording, like a makeup tutorial video.
Like one of those,
yeah.
Stay with me as I do makeup. Yeah, those TikToks and stuff. It's crazy.
The kudos to your kids. You shared some footage of them performing their Tombstones as well.
Yeah, man.
On Facebook.
Yeah, yep. They're trying to tombstone. The younger one has it better than the older one, so he'll have to shape up and learn. But yeah, they're really big getting into it. You know, my youngest one is watching all kinds of videos on YouTube and stuff. And Dad,
your daughter?
No, my youngest son. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but they probably won't watch Elimination Chamber live because it's at 5 a.m. But we'll definitely, I'll show it to them. But they're excited for Mania and excited. I told them that Rock was going to take Cody's spot, and they were a little bummed out about it just because they're big Cody fans, man.
Oh yeah.
So now that's kind of back on track, or we don't really know yet. I mean, supposedly back on track. We'll see. But they're big Cody fans. They're ready for Cody to finish the story.
Oh man.
Wrestling. So
I wish I could be that young.
It brings me so much happiness to see them like be into it like we were, So yeah.
Well, much like you were when you discovered this guy right here, Sting. Man, I don't think I got my voice high enough for that.
Sting.
There you go.
I had to get that Georgia Bulldog Sting.
That's right, man. So where were you? I mean, you said, how old do you think you were when you came across Sting on your TV?
5, probably. Just flipping through. Yeah, I got my TV in my room Christmas when I was 5 years old. So
so that'd be 91.
91 Christmas. So yeah, I was almost 6. After that, it was probably just a Saturday night. 6:05.
Yeah,
flipping through. Yeah, leave the cards down.
I'm done with
just keep falling. Just probably flipping through and just saw him, or maybe it was a recap of Clash of Champions. So I don't know, man. But he had already, had the title and he would have. Yeah, he would have already had that match. But he just I can't remember the match or whatever. I just remember seeing him and being like, man, I don't know what's going on, but this is awesome. And then, just kind of catching him later. I wasn't tuned in religiously, but anytime I did, I wanted to see him. Like, he's the guy I wanted to see when I saw it. So
yeah, I was trying to remember when I would have first seen him, because I've always been, and especially back then, I was more of a WWF guy than WCW. I don't even remember when I first even discovered WCW, but I think it was through my aunt Kathy, who was a big wrestling fan in like the 80s and early 90s. But she was a big WCW fan. She actually gave me this guy, the little Sting Galoob figure. And I'm sure I had seen Sting before I got this action figure. I know she gave me some tapes, like some old Starrcade and Super Brawl tapes that she recorded off pay-per-view. So I definitely had seen him through that or Clash of the Champions or something. But yeah, you had one of these?
I don't think I had that.
Oh, really? I assumed you had it.
I don't think I had any of those. I had the Jake the Snake because it came with the snake and the little arm that pulled back and went forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have him, but Jake the Snake is another guy that appealed to me a lot too. He just had something that I was drawn to. But yeah, Sting, I don't think I had any figures until, late 90s when I started buying them myself.
Okay.
So,
well, I feel like every kid who had wrestling figures, even if you just had WWF figures, you probably had a Sting figure in there somewhere. It's an iconic figure, man. He doesn't move, but you can still just do the Scorpion splash. You still whatever, just that iconic Sting pose. You could pretend he's doing like beating his chest like that. Oh man, just a guy who jumped off the screen at you with that bleach blonde hair, with the rat tail, with the neon colored tights. So 90s or 80s even with those colors. But so iconic. So like I said, we're not going to go through his entire career highlights here, but I thought we could just talk about just a brief outline of his career, and that'll kind of help us come up with some favorite moments to talk about. But he started professionally in 1985 in All California Championship Wrestling as Flash. That was his original ring name, in a tag team with Jim Justice Hellwig, better known as
the Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Or just Warrior.
Right. Or an insane person, whatever.
Yeah.
They went to Memphis eventually, our favorite territory, and turned heel. And I learned this as I was doing my research. Their highlight in Memphis apparently was breaking the leg of a veteran wrestler by the name of Phil Hickerson, better known as
P.Y.2. Yes, boy. Dude, a favorite here.
Another favorite.
Dude, Phil Hickerson. The fact that they interacted with him and so did Taker early on is that's beautiful. Beautiful. Chef's kiss.
I think both guys probably learned everything they knew from old P.Y.2. But dude, I always thought it was so wild that these two guys, Steve Borden, aka Sting, and Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior, they just started as jabrones together. They came in the business together. These no-name guys in some little tiny territory. What are the odds that these two guys? What are the odds that one of them would go on to be one of the biggest icons in wrestling, much less two of them? Not even just they both made it and had great careers, but both of them just absolute icons. It's kind of insane.
It's insane. It's kind of like that class of 2002 from from Ohio Valley. Mainly the two top guys being Cena and Orton or Batista or whatever, or Brock. Never mind, all four. But just this random assortment of guys that just take over the business. And it's imagine if Hulk and Ric Flair were just a jabron tag team. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Sting and the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Or if Rock and Austin were just some J-Bone tag team in Texas out of nowhere. That's what it would be the equivalent of. So it's insane to think about. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, they go on to be in the UWF together. Let's give a big break.
They're like Pinky in the Brain. What's the song? One is something, the other's insane. Yeah. Pinky in the Brain, Sting and Warrior.
We'll let y'all figure out who's
had to bring the early 90s into it.
You have to. They were the Blade Runners in the UWF.
That's a cool name.
That's a great name.
Coca-Cola in here, by the way, in honor of WCW Atlanta. So
born in the South, right there.
Exactly.
I've got where the big boys play cup.
Look at that adjective. Look at that adjective, baby. Look at that adjective.
Well, they go their separate ways in 1987, and
they took a journey.
Separate ways. Warrior ended up in WWE. Sting ended up in NWA/WCW, and he was in Jim Crockett Promotions' first ever pay-per-view match. I didn't realize this. But Starrcade 87, he's in the opening match, teaming up with Michael Hayes, and Jimmy Garvin against Eddie Gilbert, Rick Steiner, and Larry Zbyszko.
What a rogue gallery. That is beautiful right there.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Hall of Famers all the way down.
Yes.
But he gets his big break. He's obviously a star right off the bat, again, with his look, his charisma, his personality. But the big break comes at Clash of the Champions 1, the very first Clash of the Champions, March 1988. It's this free special that comes on TBS to go up against WrestleMania 4. It's JCP's big kind of screw you to Vince. They put on this free show sort of as an answer because Vince had put on the Survivor Series up against Starrcade the year before. Yeah. So instead of putting another pay-per-view on, they do a free show. And what a match to main event. Sting and Ric Flair in a 45-minute draw for the world title. I know you've seen that one before, man.
I can't even name how many times I've seen this match. It is one of my favorites. Spoiler alert. It is. It's so good. And just talk about a star-making performance. How you can get over without going over. That's one thing Bully Ray always talks about on Busted Open. You don't have to go over to get over. This is the prime example of it. right here,
Oh,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
So,
If you've
yeah.
never seen that match before, definitely, especially as Sting retires here and you're looking at some classic Sting matches to go back and look for, go out of your way to go see that.
Mm-hmm.
It still holds up. It's
Yeah.
a masterful storytelling piece. It's great.
And from what I recall, he'd never gone that long. I mean, depending on which, story you tell or you listen to from Flair, like he says this thing had never gone that long. So he just kind of went out there and they knew what they were doing and they kind of called it in the ring and like they used to, old school style. And it's just great for a guy who was, I mean, still, he wasn't like green as grass, but he was still a couple years in the business, It's not like a lot. So to go out there with the world's champion and just have that match, it's fantastic, dude. So,
And Flair did that with a lot of guys, but like
yeah,
not to that level that I think
this
he did
one's
it with Sting.
this one's the most like put a guy on a map match that Flair had with somebody.
And Sting lived up to it too. It
Yeah,
wasn't just like a one and done thing. Flair put him on the map, but Sting established himself there. It really started a rivalry that would follow them not
right.
just through WCW, but into TNA Impact as well for years and years.
And they're together in AEW. Who knows if he's going to turn on him?
Oh, exactly.
So
I bet money on it.
probably.
Well, Sting joins the Horsemen there briefly for a little while, and it's sort of like, you know, like Daniel Bryan joining the Wyatt family or something.
Right.
Like we all know where it's going to lead to. It's just kind of stalling it out, making the big turn a little bit bigger. And he's supposed
Storytelling.
he's supposed to win the world title from Flair a little bit earlier, but he actually legitimately blows his knee out climbing up a steel cage on it's either pay-per-view or Clash of the Champions or something. And so that match has to get postponed. But during his time off, it's actually kind of a great thing that the match got postponed because we got an incredible moment with Sting and RoboCop at Capital Combat 1990.
Did we?
Oh, we got the moment.
Yeah, but did we need it? Sometimes there are moments, and sometimes there are moments that you don't need, but you just get them anyway. So yeah, this is the infamous Capital Combat with Sting and RoboCop, and it is just looking back on it, I just cannot believe it. But honestly, in my early fandom, when I went back and like watched this, I was like, "This is cool." It's not, but it is. Like, it's nostalgic.
RoboCop walked so Logan Paul could run, man. It's
Exactly.
just like we've come a long way for celebrity appearances.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad Bunny. Can you imagine RoboCop in the Royal Rumble or something?
Yeah, that I can. That sounds fantastic. They had a zombie match 3 years ago. Let's do it. That's
true. Yeah. Come on, you can't make fun of this.
TNA had a Texas Chainsaw Leatherface match. Like it's let's do a RoboCop.
AEW.
Or AEW. I mean, yeah. TNA's had worse.
TNA has had worse. That's a great.
They had matches where you start on the outside and make it into the ring. It's like it's stupid. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
It's one of the great Jim Ross calls of all time. Is this RoboCop angle too? It's great commentary from JR.
Oh, he just loves it. He gives us all his NCAA stats and stuff. I'm just kidding.
Great American Bash 90. You got to highlight that. That's Sting finally winning the big one with Ric Flair. It's not as great of a match as the Clash of the Champions one, but what a crowd reaction, dude. The crowd just goes nuts. It's gonna be like when Cody eventually wins the big one. Hopefully, eventually, just like something you've been waiting for, and they've been teasing for so long, and finally happens. Incredible moment, one of the best moments in WCW history, in my opinion.
And do you remember what he wins with?
Roll up or a small package.
Small package. So like, it's just that it's not a bunch of false finish, big built, which there's nothing wrong with it. I love that style, but like it just kind of comes like Ric Flair kicks out at like 3.1. It's Sting pinned his shoulders to the ground and held him down and beat him. Like that's what wrestling is supposed to be. That's what it's all disguised as an actual match between two guys trying to pin their shoulders down. So it's just really cool how he won it. It wasn't like a Scorpion Death Drop, and then, Scorpion Death Lock and then tap out. It was just like a small package. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I outsmarted you. I held you down. Like, it's really cool to see him win that way, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. And again, another great call from Jim Ross. Like I was watching some of these old matches back this week. I think my favorite person to hear Jim Ross call a match for might be Sting. Like in the early 90s when Jim Ross is at his best, before he's had all his health problems and everything, and he's old school Jim Ross, like the way he got excited for Sting.
About Sting.
I mean, I know Jim Ross will always be connected to Stone Cold, but dude, listening to him call a Sting match at his peak, at his height, was like giving me goosebumps, dude.
Yeah.
I freaking
You're not wrong. Not wrong.
Well, through the night, he is like the wrestler of the 90s for WCW. Of course, he's going to team up on and off with Lex Luger. They'll team together. They'll face each other. They'll be all over the place. He's got some rivalries in the early 90s with Cactus Jack, Jake the Snake, Vader.
Yes.
We got to talk about Vader because I think my favorite Sting matches are not Sting versus Flair. Mine are Sting versus Vader. These guys had unreal chemistry with one another.
Yeah, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? And it's a lot of guys that Vader was stiff with and didn't want to work with. Like, I've never heard Sting say a bad word about him, about Vader. Yeah, he says he's tough, but he's never badmouthed him, But yeah, Vader brought out something in Sting that
it brings something out of you.
About sneezed in the microphone there. Yeah, Vader brought something out of Sting. It just made it. It's just some guys that you don't think have chemistry. You just never know. And it's just like Angle and Taker. Honestly, those guys shouldn't mesh well, but they did. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's just great big man match. Brutal stuff too.
Oh, it truly felt like a superhero movie.
Yeah,
watching these guys face each other because you have Sting as like the comic book character,
like Wolverine versus Juggernaut.
Well, yeah, he's got the face paint. Vader's got the mask. That's exactly right, man. Vader is the Juggernaut. He's this monster. He never stops. Yeah. And Sting, sells, and then finally, he finally one of these matches I was watching. They were on commentary. He's doing rope-a-dope. Basically, he's just letting Vader punch himself out, and finally Vader tires himself out. Sting gets this big slam and pins him, and it's just
outsmarts
so good. So good.
Again, he outsmarts him, holds him down. So yeah, it's great stuff, man.
I heard some interview clip or something, a podcast, something, I don't know, but they're talking about Sting and TNA working with Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe had a strong style and everything and worked stiff, and guys were like, "Oh, Sting, man, you think you can go with Samoa Joe? You think you can handle that?" And he's like, "Brother, I've been in the ring with Leon White, and so nothing scares me in life anymore."
Yeah. See, there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, not bad mouth Vader, just saying, I've been through this. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I've been through some stuff.
Well, he goes through a little stuff here in 1994 as Hulk Hogan comes into the company and really turns WCW up on its head. The company's never the same after Hulk Hogan comes in for a lot of good reasons, maybe some not so great reasons. And for Sting, he's going to become like the second or third babyface when Hogan arrives. And, that's fine. Things happen. You can't be the top guy forever, but he's going to kind of move down the card a little bit. And we're going to see him start to change his look a little bit here into 95 and 96. He starts to grow his hair out a little bit, stops dyeing the hair a lit'll bit. What'd you think of that look for Sting?
Well, once I saw where it was going with the Crow, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But it was just, it's definitely weird to see, when, because at the time I think I tuned back in, he was already become, the NWO was there. And so he was already, I saw this. So I didn't get to see the transition, but until I rented tapes and went back and watched it. And so, yeah, it was definitely weird to see him stop having bleach blonde hair, but I was like, it looks more natural. And he was just changing with the times, I like it growing out a little bit. So it was something different because you don't want to be the same all the time, Yeah,
I think in like the same way, Undertaker dropped the gloves and the boots and everything, starts just wearing the all black and starts wearing like the MMA gloves or just the wrist tape or something. They'll change the times, look a little bit more modern, and it's always important to change your look up like that.
Yeah.
Sting is, of course, on the very first Monday Nitro against who else but the Nature Boy, Ric Flair,
A nature
against
boy.
him there in the Mall of America. And then the biggest match in WCW history, Bash at the Beach 1996. He is on the team with Luger and Macho Man to face the Outsiders. And just goes to show you how important Sting was. Luger and Macho Man, what do they look like in that match?
They painted their face like Sting.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So he's the leader there. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. It's
Man,
Sting's Army.
I ordered that pay-per-view live. I'll never forget it. Never forget just basically crying when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO.
That was your
Devastating
boy, man.
moment.
Yeah.
But those were, Sting was one of the pillars of WCW. You had to have him there defending WCW's honor in that moment and that night. And that's going to lead to the biggest angle of his career, probably the biggest angle in WCW history, because he's going to continue. Yeah, he's going to continue feuding with the NWO through 96. That they're going to start, NWO is going to start acting like Sting's on their side, and he's going to join them for the War Games. So that's the big angle for War Games, Fall Brawl 96, whose team is Sting's going to be on. The NWO ends up using a fake Sting to join their side and deceive the WCW before the real Sting comes out. And he feels betrayed that his partners would think he was joining the NWO. He comes out, he joins the match, he beats up the NWO, but then he just walks away in the middle of the match. He's like, is that good enough for you guys? Did that answer it for you? He feels betrayed that anyone would think he wouldn't be WCW strong. And that, of course, leads to the Crow.
Yeah, and this is just an iconic angle, and it's what drew me back into wrestling at this time, whatever it was, 10 years old, going on 11 years old, so it drew me back into it. And I texted my buddy Trey before we started recording and asked him, he's like me, big Sting fan. That's what got him into wrestling. He said that this was, his, favorite, I guess, angle of Sting's, probably the one he's going to be remembered for the most is just changing his look up, becoming the Crow Sting, which again we learned that was Scott Hall's idea.
Yeah,
Scott Hall's the one that gave him the idea to just, you seen the movie The Crow, just do that, do black and white and nobody knows what side you're on and just don't talk. And so we'll talk more about the angle as it goes here, but yeah, just definitely it's like a career renaissance. So he has two different eras. Like he has the bleach blonde Sting, then he has this. Now he would go on to do Joker stuff and whatever, and this era he's in now, but like he's still the Crow Sting, like it's still that base, So basically, it's two different eras, kind of like Taker has like the Dead Man in the American BA,
bingo,
then back to the Dead Man. So they kind of mirror each other in that aspect, which is crazy.
Absolutely, yeah.
And again, both being pillars of their companies too.
And it's such a radical shift and such a unique storyline. There's really never been anything quite like it before or since.
I was thinking about that earlier today. I was thinking like, he goes from, because the guy you have right there, the bleach blonde hair, he would give promos and I'm a little stingers and whoa, and he's beating his chest and and to go from that to not speaking for 18 months and hiding in the rafters and rappelling down, and is he going to be on Nitro or not? They kind of just speculate, is he here or not? But it wasn't just a change for change's sake. It had a meaning in the storyline. There are too many times when guys nowadays introduce a new character or a new aspect to their character, but it's just flips on a dime and there's no reason for it, which is why I'll go back. Again, you and I both love the guy now, JBL, but when he became JBL, it made no sense because like a month earlier, he was the APA guy, and all of a sudden he changed, but it didn't make sense. You didn't get there gradually. You can't bring back Lord Tensai when we all know he's Albert. You can't bring in the Funkasaurus when we know he's Brodus Clay and just change. Like, you have to have a reason for these things if you want to, break it down and be serious. Like, Sting had a reason for why he went dark. He had a reason for why he didn't trust anybody. He's hiding by himself. He's alone. It all made sense. And so it wasn't just a change for change's sake, So I am ranting here, but I just appreciate that so much because I don't think anybody has ever made that drastic of a change with as much meaning as Sting has.
No, I can't think of anything in the history of wrestling to compare it to.
And even our boy Taker, who changed to the American BA, honestly, there really wasn't a reason except for Mark Calloway just wanted to do it. Like on screen, there was no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like we all grew to love it, and it's okay. But like you and I didn't love it for years. We still liked Taker, but like we didn't love the character because it was so abrupt and such a stark. So like again, Sting, I think, is the only guy in history who has made that drastic of a change for a storyline reason, and it made sense, and it was like acceptable. You know, we could all go, "Oh, I get this. Yeah, I got it." So anyway, like I said, I'll go off soapbox, but I don't think anybody's ever done it better than him. So.
And I give full credit to, I know it wasn't totally his idea, but I give lots of credit to Eric Bischoff for like sticking with that, to take your top guy, not just do this for a month or two or even 3, maybe 6 months, but to go over a year, to not have your top wrestler wrestle, not have him cut a promo, not have him speak, to build up to this match. I mean, that takes some brass balls, dude.
Could you imagine now?
Yeah.
Like Roman shows up, twice a month, and people moan and complain about that. Ooh, Roman, he's the top guy. That's what Sting was doing back then. Imagine if there was social media back then. People would crap all over it.
I do feel like I remember towards the end being like, all right, when is this going to happen? But because you knew they were getting to Starrcade, at a certain point, you were like, all right, we know where this is going. But I feel like even as a kid, like September, October is like, all right, we're kind of stalling to get to Starrcade. But it was worth it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But and full credit to Sting. Like we talk about Undertaker taking his PTO and, having to take a bump. Sting getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to not take a bump for over a year. How about that?
18 months. You want me to hang out in the rafters and maybe not show up and grow my hair out? Absolutely. Where do I sign?
But it was great too, because we undersell it by saying he just hung out in the rafters for a year, because he was still very involved, and he would descend from the rafters at important times, and we would wonder for a while, is he on WCW side? Is he on the NWO side? And he would, very timely, he would make these saves for people, and he would pull out the bat, which became, an important thing that he would carry with him for the rest of his career. That became his new weapon of choice. He debuted a new move during this time.
Let me talk about that. That's why I'm wearing this shirt right here. This is my Jeff Jarrett shirt. So if I'm not mistaken, the first time he does the Scorpion Death Drop is against this man right here, I believe.
Okay.
So I may be wrong. You guys can correct me on that. But, it's World War III, 1996. So that's November. It's Jeff Jarrett versus the Giant. And I believe the Giant is in the NWO at this point. Sting, if the match is happening, Sting is shown up in the rafters. They show him up there. The fans I think it's the Norfolk Scope. The fans erupt, and the spotlight's on him. He finally makes his way down through the crowd. The fans are just going. Nobody cares what's going on in the ring because Sting is there. It's been, at this point, what, 5 months since the NWO debuted. So he's got his hair shorter. He just got the little tiny black right here. Doesn't have all of it. Yeah. He's still got the black trench coat. He's not saying a thing. He comes down. Jarrett's in the ring doing his strut like this. Sting just pulls his hair back, looks at him, Scorpion Death Drop, boom, that's it. He gets out of the ring, and I think Giant comes in and wins. But again, the commentary, Dusty Rhodes on commentary, Shivani, and maybe Heenan, and they're like, what side is he on? Or is that him? He just saved the NWO, but, is he Team WCW? And this was in that whole era where they're, which side is he on? You don't know where he is. He's a loner. He's a lone wolf. That's why I'm rocking this shirt, because that right there is one of my favorite moments of this era of Sting. I didn't watch it live, but I rented this tape. My buddy from church, his name was Jared. I watched a lot of wrestling with him at this time, and so we rented it. It was after NWO was around. It's probably in '97 we rented it, but like just going back and watching because I wanted to see how we got to where we got to, and so I couldn't read it on the internet really much that day. I mean, it's 96, 97, so it wasn't a lot of stuff going on.
Probably no.
But so I remember renting them. They come out on tape every 3 months, 3 months afterwards. So yeah, this is November, so probably in February of '97 when I'm finally renting it and getting to watch it. I just remember seeing that and being like, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life." Like he just didn't. It's so cool. Like we look at Austin, and like Austin was an anti-hero. Like he just came in and DDT'd the the bad guy who's on the good side though, and like kind of just was like, man, you guys don't know about me. Like it just kind of it's such a Clint Eastwood thing to do, man.
Well,
Just like
it's
come
ahead of
in,
its time,
do it.
you know,
Yeah,
for what wrestling would become.
yeah,
You know, to be the anti-hero like that.
yeah, exactly. So it
Yeah.
was just so cool, man. Like I just that I think if he didn't debut that move that night, he did it like a week before on Nitro or 2 weeks before on Nitro to Jared again. I think it was the second time he did it to Jared, but that was when he debuted the Scorpion Death Drop, which was one of my favorite moves. So
Dude, it's an underrated finisher, and of course, you know he had the Scorpion Deathlock, which was awesome, and it came first before the sharpshooter.
Yes,
I'm
it
pretty
did.
sure,
Yep.
and although I think, in my opinion, Bret Hart does it better, but you gotta give credit to Sting for pulling it out first. But the Scorpion Death Drop, it was awesome to see him make that change. Again, we've seen Undertaker do that many times, you know, to go from the Tombstone to the Last Ride and then into the Hell's Gate and add those submissions to his repertoire. But Sting, I think it's an underrated finisher, dude, because you could do it on anybody. You can do it quick. Like you said, pulling the hair back like that. It's almost like Austin hitting the kick and the stunner. Like it's just an iconic move. And it's simple, it's basic, but when Sting does it, it's awesome.
It's awesome. Tommaso Ciampa did it on Raw tonight.
Yeah.
I just watched him do it a little while ago on Raw. It's not a finisher anymore, but it should be. It should be. You know, but yeah, it's a great move. Yeah, when he just pulled the hair back and look at him in the face. I remember you do that on WWE NWO Revenge. Yeah, he would pull him back, like slowly look at him in the face, and then do it. It was just so cool, man.
Yes.
It's so cool. The way he did it. Nobody does it like him.
Well, it was all building up to Starrcade 97. And I was thinking about this week, dude. I don't know if I'm being hyperbolic, just to talk about it on the show, but I legitimately think this was probably the most excited I ever was to see a wrestling pay-per-view, was to see Sting finally face Hogan at Starrcade 97. I really think it was.
I agree. Again, I was short into my infancy of my fandom here, but like I was so pumped. Like my parents never let me rent or get pay-per-views, but like I wanted to get this the most of anything in my life. I wanted to see this match because it had been building for 18 months. You know, I wanted to see what's going to happen, you know, and it played out how it played out. But
I think
but the anticipation is there, and you know, it's just something that you just could not wait to see, and it was built so perfectly.
That's right. And in some ways, it didn't matter what happened once they went in the ring because it's all about getting there and getting that buy rate and everything. But it is, you know, we can't ignore it. It's a weird match. It doesn't quite live up to expectations. I don't know if there's just ring rust for Sting. There's backstage politics. He wasn't tan enough, as Eric Bischoff likes to say. But he does. And then there's the weird stuff with Bret Hart. There's the fast count that's not really a fast count. I mean, no one really knows the full story, but Sting does win the title, and you do get that great moment with him finally defeating the NWO. So, you know, at least for a moment, you know, the right thing does happen, and, you know, get that payoff.
Yeah, and even as a kid, though, as an 11-year-old, when I watched it, I knew what happened because of Nitro next day or whatever. I think my friend called me, maybe you called me and told me what happened. I don't know. Anyway, but when I watched it back, like I didn't see all that, and maybe it's just the naivety of being a child, you know, and just seeing it. Like I didn't care that the fast count wasn't fast count. I was so enraptured by the story. I was just like, he finally overcame the mighty NWO and won the title for WCW, even though Lex Luger did it earlier. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, sure,
but
sure.
In the grand arc of the story, like this should have been the end of the NWO. It wasn't, but it was just beautiful, man. It was just, and again, backstage politics, whatever. As a kid, though, watching it, I was just like, oh, this is great.
Right.
So
that's what it's all about.
I didn't become jaded to it till later on in life. I was like, I could have been a lot better.
Well, he gets stripped of the title the next night on Nitro, and they probably, in hindsight, probably not the best way to go with it. But he ends up winning it back a couple months later, and
in February,
right? And then, in my opinion, in '98, you know, the WCW storyline really starts to stall out. Storyline wise, I mean, popularity wise, they're as popular as ever, bringing in as much money as ever. But to me, it was a betrayal even though he was a babyface, but it was a betrayal to see Sting join the NWO, even though it was the Wolfpack. And even though they were the babyface faction, it was always weird to me to see Sting wearing an NWO shirt after all he'd done fighting against the NWO. But we got to talk about it. The iconic red and black look for Sting.
Loved it. I loved it, dude. Just because
Okay.
it was Georgia Bulldog colors. I loved it. And again, I think I was able to be cool with it because it was the babyface faction. And it wasn't, it was Nash, but it wasn't. I think to me, it was Hogan was always the anti-Sting guy. It was like, as long as he wasn't with Hogan, it was okay with me. If he'd have joined Hogan, I would have been like, I don't know if I can do that. But I think it's because he was with Luger. He was with, these kind of ancillary NWO figures, And Nash was just freaking cool, dude. Nash is the man. So I didn't mind him being an NWO because, again, it kind of, to me, they made sense. But it was just cool. That was a fun run to me. I love.
The Wolfpack was fun.
He was a tag team champion with, I think, Big Show. Big Show was in black and white, maybe. NWO or WCW, I don't know, but anyway, he winds up they fight a singles match at a pay-per-view for the tag titles, and reverse DDT or death drops him off the middle rope to win. It was cool, man. I watched that on Scramble Vision, I remember. So I was listening to it. It was the night before I went on my church beach trip when we're listening to it. So the whole week I bought a NW Wolfpack shirt that summer at Myrtle Beach. Yeah, good stuff, man.
Too sweet.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where Sting really started doing the Too Sweet, and I mean, he still does it to this day. Still throws it up.
The only time I've seen Sting live was as Sting, as Wolfpack Sting. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you that at some point. So what was
Georgia
that?
Georgia Dome. Him and Luger versus I think it was like
Riggs
and Sick Boy or something.
It's like a squash match.
It was like 90 seconds long.
Oh man,
that's the only time I've seen Sting live. So I'll talk about how I missed him in 2000 as we get to that later on. But
mine was a house show in '94, and it was him against Avalanche, aka Earthquake.
Yeah,
it was one of the main events there, and they faced each other. And I didn't have time. I was gonna go back and look. So I went to a couple Saturday night tapings in like the mid 90s. I may have seen him again during one of those, but I can't quite remember exactly. But that's the one I remember vividly. So definitely got to see him at least once. In '99, he actually turns heel for a minute. Do you really remember much about that? Because I really wasn't watching WCW as hardcore at that time.
Is it Fall Brawl '99?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Russo is there. I think Russo's there.
I think so. It was either right before or right after. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right around then.
It's only about 3 weeks because it doesn't work. I think he hits Hogan with a bat. If I'm not mistaken. Hogan's in the red and yellow at this point, and he hits Hogan with a bat and kind of sides with Luger against him. And the crowd's kind of indifferent to it. They don't know what they cheer because it's Sting, but Hogan's a babyface. But I think it only lasts like. I think he wins a title that way, but he's I
think so. Mm-hmm.
He's only a champion, or he's only a heel for like maybe 3 weeks. It just doesn't work. You just can't do it with him at that point in that iteration of Sting.
No.
There's a reason he's able to be a heel later in TNA, but it didn't work here. And kudos for pivoting and going back to to what it was. So.
WCW throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, not quite working, but one of his later feuds, one of his final feuds in WCW is against Vampiro in the Dark Carnival.
Here for all of it. Yeah.
Great Muta. That was cool.
Here for all of it.
It makes sense to have those guys against each other. You could see certainly Sting's influence on Vampiro.
Yeah.
So I thought, that totally worked.
Yeah, Millionaires Club versus New Blood. I was like, you got to do Sting and Vampiro, and they did for like the whole summer, and it made sense. And they had the Del Toro board, Kiss Demon, and what was it? The Dark Carnival was like Raven and Vampiro and
so
Muta,
ICP,
maybe,
right?
and ICP. And so they kind of all intertwined before Raven left, and it was just cool stuff, man. And like seeing Sting again, I thought Sting wasn't a champion, but like he was able to be. It elevated Vampiro just to be in the ring with Sting, being in the storyline with Sting.
Absolutely, it made him a star.
Exactly. Like I loved Vampiro as the wrestler. The guy is insane, but I loved Vampiro on screen. He was awesome, and just really, I was just enthralled by anything Sting did. Man, I just loved it. So yeah, that was his last like huge feud in 2000. Was all through that New Blood era.
You talk about Great Muta. I mean, that's another guy he had some
bangers
with. in the early days of WCW. But yeah, he actually gets hurt in late 2000. Really, that feud with Vampiro, that's like the most Undertaker-ish his character ever was. And that feud had Inferno matches and a lot of casket stuff. So that's like the most intertwined with the dark side we ever saw Sting.
Yeah.
And
he so the reason he gets hurt in the storyline with Scott Steiner is putting out, he's champion, he's putting out all the main guys. He's putting out, he puts out Sting, he puts out DDP, he puts out Nash, he puts out Booker T. Like Booker T winds up coming back eventually. But anyway, so Sting got put out. I think it was the Nitro or the pay-per-view before I went to see the last Nitro I ever saw. It was in Augusta in 2000 when you were supposed to be able to go with me, which you couldn't.
My grades were too bad.
Grades were too bad, so you couldn't go. So yeah, me and Jonathan went with my brother's girlfriend at the time. He wouldn't take me, but my brother's girlfriend took me, and we I hoped, like, it made storyline sense for Sting to show up that night to come back to, like, because he'd been out for maybe 2 weeks or something. But we didn't know at the time, like, no, this is the story that Bill Steiner, he's putting these legends out, and then it's going to build up to whatever it was, Greed, where he finally, goes back with Booker T or whatever. But anyway, I was holding out hope, like, he's going to show up in Augusta tonight, he's going to be here. He wasn't, but I understood for storyline. But I missed out on seeing Sting in the black and white that night. So.
Oh, we didn't know it would be your last chance to see Nitro ever anyway, because it's going to end in March 2001, and that's where we're going to see Sting come back out. Of course, fittingly, the final Nitro match, the final WCW match ever, the real WCW, is going to be against Ric Flair. But for what it is, I think they do a really good job.
I love this match.
Yeah, Flair's not really himself, but these guys could do a match together in their sleep. I'll never forget. I love Sting's promo on that night. He's in the room, all the bats swinging, pulls one down. Only thing you know for sure about Sting is nothing's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
So good. It's great, man, and a great final moment to send the real WCW out on. Before the Alliance came around.
Absolutely.
And of course, everybody's wondering, is this going to be the time? Are we finally going to see Sting in a WWE ring after all these years? Not so fast, my friend. He's going to instead choose to go over to TNA, Total Nonstop Action, make his debut in June 2003 on the TNA one-year anniversary show to team with your boy, Jeff Jarrett, right there.
There we go.
To take on AJ Styles and Six Pack. This was a pretty massive move, though, for Sting to end up choosing TNA over WWE.
Yeah, it was. And, he set out his rest of his contract. Like, a lot of those guys that had the big contracts with Warner. Like, he said in the interviews, like, I just didn't want to go to WWF. It just was against he had some moral convictions against going there, which apparently he's thrown out the window because AEW is far skankier than WWE was. I'm saying the things they say and do on TV compared to WWF, and I don't know. It's probably about on par. Some of the stuff they do use worse language than WWE did back then, but they don't do quite as slutty stuff. But anyway, he had some moral qualms about going to WWF and waited his contract out for 2 years and then went to TNA. Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big get. It was like, oh, this company has been around for a year. They might be on to something now that you got the Stinger,
I think it was cool because Sting was always, the anti-WWE guy. Not so much like, calling out WWE, but, he was the one guy who never went there. And now he's going to go try to put this other company on the map and try to build them up. It was a really neat thing to do. And you talk about his faith. Let's talk about his biography. He had a book come out, and then he had a direct-to-video movie that he starred in. Right? Sting, Moment of Truth. Yeah, we watched it together. I remember watching it.
Yeah, I've got it. I should have pulled it out for tonight. I didn't think about it.
Wish you would have.
It's, can't now. Dog's in the garage. It's in the garage in the box. But, Moment of Truth. I read that book from cover to cover, like in one night, and watched the movie. It's fantastic, dude. It's really cool to hear the story about his faith, So. Yeah,
he acted in a few things. I remember watching some Netflix Christian movie with him in it. I think it's called The Encounter, where he's like in a bar or in a diner. There's random people get stuck in a diner during a thunderstorm when the guy running the diner ends up being Jesus. undercover, I think, but not a bad actor. Yeah, he not the worst
Sting
wrestling
or-
actor we've
oh,
ever
yeah.
seen. Yeah, Sting. Yeah,
Thought you were the guy that played Jesus.
no, he was bad.
Yeah, usually are in Christian movies.
Well, honestly, I haven't seen TNA as much as I've seen WCW, but you know, he certainly was a pillar of the company for
Yeah.
over a decade there. Had I think for me, I think of him that I saw the most was, or one of the just the most important moments of him was forming the Main Event Mafia with Kurt Angle, Booker T, Kevin Nash, and Scott Steiner, and that was a true heel turn for Sting, a real reinvention of him because he would come out in promos without the face paint, just wearing sunglasses and everything, and I thought he did a great job with it.
He did. It was definitely fun to see him try that, and it actually worked this time. So I was saying earlier, like
I thought it
actually
well.
worked. You know, like the thing in '99 did not work, but this Main Event Mafia run worked because of who he was associated with and what they were doing in the storyline. Yeah, I like that he would come out not in the face paint and then wrestle in it, but not give it to you. You know, I just liked it. It was good. You know, and then he'd go on to morph a little more.
Oh yeah, tell us about the Joker stick.
He becomes, I guess he's inspired by Heath Ledger's Joker. I think it's the summer of '98, or I mean '98, 2008, or maybe 2009 is when he starts that character, and just kind of loses his mind and becomes this Joker-esque character doing all these laughs. He's very reminiscent of like the Cesar Romero one from like the '66 Batman.
I'd say it's more like that, probably.
Yeah, but he was
certainly
inspired by
the
Heath Ledger. But was like definitely more of a Jack Nicholson, Cesar Romero guy, like just his crazy laughs and what you gonna do, and like just wow. But like you could tell he was having fun. That's why
the thing.
I dug it because
exactly
my buddy Trey that texted me earlier, he said did not care for Joker Sting. Like I did care for it. The little I saw, I was like, he's having a blast, dude. And he's like in his mid 40s, late 40s at that point. And it's another career reinvention, and he's having so much fun.
That's exactly how I felt. The first time I saw it, I was like, I rolled my eyes so hard, like,
sure.
Oh no, why? Don't do this, man. This is so dumb. But yeah, he embraced it. He had a blast with it. Changed up his face paint
I like
again.
The messy paint. Yeah, the messy paint. Yeah,
he fully embraced it, and so you could tell he was on board with it, and that's what made it work. He wasn't halfway doing it.
Nope.
I gotta mention when you talk TNA, you gotta mention the infamous match with Jeff Hardy. I mean, that's unfortunately one of the things we'll always remember about him in TNA, and his reaction to it when crowds chanting, you know, whatever. I forget exactly what they're chanting. It's like this sucks or whatever. He's like, I agree.
Yeah.
Just
it's Victory Road 2011, I believe. Is that right? 2011, 2009. Yeah, 2011, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. Or not, whichever year. Those are the lost years. I didn't follow TNA very much.
No.
And that's when I love Sting. I love him. He's the one that got me. But like, I just kind of lost interest when she was in TNA. Like at first, it was complete. I couldn't access it. I wasn't buying a pay-per-view every week. I wasn't buying monthly pay-per-views, you know, and stuff. So I saw him when they were on Fox Sports or whatever, FX1, whatever it was back then. And then they were on Spike TV. I watched, you know, as much as I could. But I just wasn't, you know, enthralled by the whole package. I just tuned in for Sting things. So that does say something about him, that he would keep me interested in the product because of that, which honestly is how I feel about AEW. I keep interested in some of the stuff for it, see what Sting's doing. You know, when he came in, that was a big moment. You know, we'll talk about, I'm jumping the gun here, but I'm just saying, like, he has this ability to bring me into whatever's happening in whatever other company, you know.
Well, he goes on. Did he bring you in to watch him face Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan in 2011 and some of the final matches against each other? I remember watching the Ric Flair one, and it's
I've watched it on YouTube. It's rough.
Yeah, and Hogan one's not much better. But they end up still facing each other in 2011, and Sting makes his final TNA appearance in 2014, losing to Magnus in a title versus career match. So there you go.
GM of SmackDown.
Nick Aldis has got that on his resume.
Yeah.
Retired Sting for TNA.
He was talking about that in an interview I watched the other day, and just like how much that meant to him. Like he said Sting picked him.
That's awesome.
For that match. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Well, after years and years of speculation, after 30 years in the business at this point. Sting's finally going to sign that contract with WWE, and we start to see him make these Legends appearances. We start seeing action figures and merch, and he ends up being like the main attraction for the 2K15 video game, which is a way we started seeing a lot of Legends appear and started to be like a preview of what storylines would end up being for a few years after this, because they did it with Goldberg after that. And makes the shocking appearance at Survivor Series 2014. There was no spoilers. There was no anticipation about this. But after years and years in that big match with the Authority versus the WWE guy, John Cena's team, Sting makes his shocking debut the night after I got married. It was the day after I got married. Because I remember I was like trying to not be disconnected from the world, but then I saw Sting debut and I was like, oh my God. Second most exciting thing to happen to me that weekend, Sting making his debut. He helps Dolph Ziggler defeat the Authority on that night. I mean, what did you think when Sting finally debuted?
Jumped out of my seat, dude. It was incredible. I remember watching this with the kids at a children's home we were taking care of. I was up there that quick after your wedding? That's insane. It was the next day.
Must have been.
I must have left that night.
It was the day after the wedding. That's we got married on Saturday. Pay-per-view was Sunday.
Yeah, because we watched it live with the kids, so I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I jumped out of my seat, dude. Like, it was wild. I was just so excited because like I said, there's no spoilers, but to see that little crow thing and the little call or whatever it was, and then him come out and point the bat and everything, and then that led to Ziggler winning the match. That match is a Ziggler, talking about a star-making night.
Yeah, it was. That
was a great night for Ziggler. But anyway, yeah, just seeing him there was just surreal, and I was just like, oh, we're cooking now. What's happening? Going to WrestleMania, what's he going to do? And then you saw him kind of, you're like, okay, maybe it's him and Triple H, so.
Well, that's where they were building to. Even though I think a lot of people wanted to see Sting versus Undertaker, maybe we got Sting versus Triple H, another controversial match in WWE history or in Sting's career, as he loses to Triple H. But I want to hear your thoughts about this match, because I think it's great.
It's fun, man. It's the weirdest thing about the whole thing was seeing him come out during daytime. That's the weirdest thing. The most like the drums are whatever, they're weird, but like seeing him come out at WrestleMania in the day was like weird. And same thing with Taker. It's not that dark when he comes out, I don't believe, because it's early in the night. Because
they went as long as they could to get Taker's in. It's starting to get dark.
Yeah,
it's like dusk-ish.
Sting's one I think is in the daylight for sure, and it's just weird to see. But like, I was fine. Some people were like, the NWO wouldn't have helped him. Like, come on, man. Like, it's not real. Like, it's okay. This is WCW versus WWF right now, and like that whole thing was fun. It was fun. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought he looked great. He jumped off the top rope to the outside, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it was wild, dude. And I had a great time. I understand he was not going to win. I wanted him to win. Vince was not going to let WCW beat WWF. It didn't matter who it was. It could have been him versus Kenny Dykstra, and Vince was going to have WWF win. Seriously, dude. Like, am I wrong?
Thank goodness it wasn't.
Thank goodness it wasn't, but I'm just saying, like, he was not going to win at WrestleMania, his first, like, did I want him to? Yeah, especially because I thought he might not have many more. But I understand the business of having him, lose. And I thought it was fun. I don't hate this match at all. I don't.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's really fun.
Some people hate it.
Oh, I know they do. But yeah, like you said, the NWO, first of all, he was in the NWO. He was in the Wolfpack. But it's like, it's like when two brothers are fighting and then someone attacks the other person's brother. Well, yeah, the brothers
Wolverine, Sabretooth helps Wolverine, even though they can't, like, they're brothers, but sometimes if Wolverine's getting beat up, Sabretooth will help his brother. Yeah, exactly.
The greater enemy is WWE. And I remember when it's DX comes out first, right? I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
I popped huge. I didn't see that coming. And then I was like, who's going to come out? Who's going to come out for Sting? And then that NWO music hits, and I was like, yes. Scott Hall takes a backdrop. Man, he's got a pacemaker in. He's taking a
Kevin Nash fakes a leg injury.
Yes.
He fakes a quad injury. It's so good.
Only thing I don't like about that match is Sting must have went to the wrong makeup store that night because his makeup never got messed up. But for some reason that night, it was rough, dude. But yeah, I think that match is really fun. It sucks. I wish he would have won.
Yeah.
In hindsight, and I think we'll talk about some other things about that match when we talk about potential Undertaker matches. But yeah, it's a shame. But the match itself was good, and he goes away for a while, comes back the night after SummerSlam, surprise appearance. Again, makeup sweated off a little bit, but still was an awesome moment when Seth Rollins is unveiling that statue to himself, and they pull the curtain up and Sting right there. It's great. And he has a really good match with Seth Rollins at Night of Champions 2014 that is tragically screwed up when Sting suffers a legit neck injury after that powerbomb by Seth Rollins. And it's really tough to watch him, try to stand back
crumble.
And basically. But up to that point, it was a really fun match. And
it was
a shame thinking about what more we could have gotten had that not happened.
Oh, I know, man. Seth is, people call him like the modern day Shawn Michaels, and he is, man. He can carry anybody to a match. And not that he was carrying Sting, but he could. The fact that they trusted him to be in there with Sting, that is a feather in Seth Rollins' cap, dude. For a guy who's never main event WrestleMania and is the guy, he had the one pay-per-view match that Sting had that wasn't Triple H, So that's pretty cool. But yeah, fun match. I honestly, for a point, I was like, they might give it to Sting real quick, just for like a night or do like a switcheroo like they did with Jericho and Triple H back in 2000. But I was like, this is awesome. And then when he crumbles, it's just like, oh no, because you could see that something was wrong, and it sucked, man.
It's very sad.
I wonder what his next WrestleMania would have been.
Let's talk about that in just a second. He has a couple matches on Raw right before this, so he does get to be a Raw competitor and gets his only 2 WWE wins on the same night. He defeats Big Show by DQ and then teams with Cena to defeat Show and Rollins. So that was right before that pay-per-view. Again, he's basically forced to retire at that point. He can't get cleared again for WWE, so he goes into the Hall of Fame in 2016. And I think we all thought that's pretty much it for Sting. He'll make some Legends appearances. His career is done. But Sting, the only thing for sure with Sting is nothing's for sure.
That's for sure.
And he debuts in AEW in December of 2020, returns to TNT.
Winter is coming.
That's right. And forms this partnership, this alliance with Darby Allin that has extended his career for the past 4 years. I think it's gone above and beyond what anyone possibly could have expected in that moment. I read an interview with him where he said he thought he was only going to do the cinematic match or maybe only do cinematic matches. And he's ended up, I was looking at some of the roster of people he's faced in AEW. Like, he hasn't just done like main event stuff. He faced Anthony Henry, who's like this guy from Augusta that I used to follow. I mean, he's faced like the 2.0 guy. Like, he's faced some random people. He's not just done just these big matches. So it's been pretty freaking cool to see.
And once again, like I said earlier, the fact that those guys are in the ring with him elevates them. Like, just like Taker does. You put a guy like Hayden Vanson, even though he didn't really in the ring, put him in a feud with Taker, it instantly elevates him, So, yeah.
Well, he will end his career with Darby Allin against the Young Bucks as he's going into this match as the AEW Tag Team Champion. So added another title to his repertoire, another tag team specialist, much like The Undertaker. What do you think of this final match? Do you have any predictions for it? Are you going to try to watch it?
I am not thrilled that his final match is a tag team match with Darby as his partner. I wanted it to be selfishly him versus Darby. He can still win. Darby goes over Darby gets over more if he loses this thing. I didn't want them to turn on each other. I don't need to heel. I just wanted it to be like hey, this is my last match. Out of respect for you, let's see if you can take all that I've taught you in the last 3 years. See if you can, take me to my limit as, I'm 65 or whatever it is. Like, let's see what you can do. And again, I don't care who wins that. History would tell you that Sting is the one looking at the lights and puts Darby over. But honestly, Darby doesn't need that win. Sting doesn't either. So like it didn't matter. But I wanted a singles match. I'm disappointed it's not that, honestly. But
I didn't realize he's only done tag matches. He hasn't had a singles match this whole run in AEW. I was looking at his statistics. I didn't even realize that. So I think it definitely makes sense for it to be a tag match. Like, I think it's fitting.
I get that, but that's why I wanted the one singles match to be against the one guy he's been with the entire time. And I didn't want a heel turn, you know.
I see what you mean.
The Bucks, they'll give him a good match. So, and I mean, he obviously handpicked them, so that's good. Yeah. And I'm glad they did something storyline wise. I think it was a little retroactive. They kind of changed their characters suddenly to meet the needs of having a heel in the match. But I'm not a fan of that. But they'll give him a good match. It'll be fine. So
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this AEW run has been incredible. Like,
yeah, he's great.
And he hasn't just been like, it's not just the guys he's been in. He's been active in these matches. He's doing big
jumping
dives.
on ladders. Yeah.
He looks great. He's in there with Billy Gunn, and both guys are senior citizens at this point, but you couldn't tell that. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's like, you know, they used to trot out, you know, like Sergeant Slaughter or Hacksaw Jim Duggan on Raw back in the day, who were probably younger than Sting and Billy Gunn are now. Yeah. And you'd be like, oh my God, like they can barely walk. And here these two guys are like looking like they fit in with these 20-year-olds, man. You'd love to see it. Certainly has elevated Darby Allin and made him a star in a lot of ways by giving him that rub, and his career will, you know, be launched basically from this run with Sting. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here at this point.
For sure. For sure. It's only done good stuff for Darby, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's do just a couple quick favorites before we talk about the dream match, Undertaker versus Sting. What's your favorite version of Sting's entrance song throughout the years?
The one he had, like Starrcade 97. That yeah, that one. Now I love the Seek and Destroy.
Something like that.
And like WWE's version was similar-ish to it.
Yeah, it's not as good.
That classic WCW one that was, you know, the Starrcade 97, because that entrance with the green lasers and the crow or the scorpion on the roof, or on the inside of the roof, and the like little voiceover beforehand with all that stuff. It's just, again, very Undertaker-esque. All of that was, but that's my favorite Sting entrance of all time too. Is watching him come in at Starrcade 97. So just because it had been built up for 18 months. So.
To me, it's got to be. Well, I thought you were gonna say the Wolfpack. I thought that might have been your.
See, I was thinking more just Sting. So, but yeah, Wolfpack is one of my favorite entrance songs.
Mine's gotta be "Man Called Sting." Man Called Sting. It's so bad. It's so good. He does this. He does that.
Yeah, it's awful. So good though.
But I love his one before that, even earlier in the 90s, where it's just the guitar. It's almost like Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I dig that one a lot too. That one sticks in my head. All right, when you think of Sting, what is the look that you go to in your head? Is it Surfer? We always call it the Surfer, even though he wasn't. There was nothing Surfer about his entire character. He never carried a surfboard down the ring. I don't know how that name has stuck with him his entire career. It's funny. There's nothing Surfer about him. Is it the Crow? Is it Tomato Sting? Is it Joker or Main Event Mafia? What is your Sting?
My Sting has got to be, I'm gonna say Starrcade 97, like that Sting, like the end of 97. Just the 1997 Sting, that one, the one with the real long hair, that was dark, never moving his face, his emotions, just that look, that one, it would just stare at you, stare it cold through your soul, man, from the rafters. So that's the Sting I picture in my head. Although the one you got, the Surfer Sting, is definitely what drew me in initially, just the one that made me a fan for life was the black and white one. What about you?
That's it for me, is, you know, the early 90s Sting. I even liked him when he did start to grow his hair out a little bit and wasn't bleached. I thought it was a cool look. I thought I liked that look on him. All right. what is like your top rivalry, your top 2 or 3 rivalries throughout his career? Top opponents?
I mean, is it cheating to say NWO? Like, just that
No,
story?
I don't think so. That totally
That
works.
story as a whole, I think, is to me his greatest story ever told in wrestling from start to finish. Again, it was what it was in the match at Starrcade, but like I just think that story, that 18-month build, him, what side is he on? Is he going to be around? Is he here? Oh, look, there's a vulture. Oh, look, there he is coming down from the rafters. Oh, look, he has 2 masks on. Oh, the fans have masks on. Oh, that's not real Sting. That's fake Sting. Like, all that was just so well done, and it required a lot of patience for the fans and for the company, and I loved it all. But in-ring opponent, man, I think it just maybe Flair, like just him and Flair.
I think you got to mention Flair.
It's just that match at the Clash is just so iconic, man.
Yeah.
What about you?
Vader, like I said earlier, is up there for me. Flair. I think
matches with Cactus are great too.
Those are great, man. You can't argue with that either. But NWO, you got to mention them as well, and Hogan. Even if the matches weren't always great, certainly the rivalry, you can't help but mention that. Okay, what favorite finisher? Is it the Scorpion Death Lock, Scorpion Death Drop? Is it the Stinger Splash?
Yeah, I love all of them. I think it's got to be. Oh man, I'd say the Death Lock maybe. Just
I thought you were gonna say the Death Drop.
I mean, I think I do want to say that too.
I think it is.
I think it is. I think you're right. Yeah, just the look in the eyes. I think you're right. This is Death Drop.
Yeah, I think so. Favorite moment. I mean, I know you said Starrcade '97 a lot, but like, what's another one that's just like a promo or a run-in or just a moment?
Honestly, this moment is one of my favorites, dude. Him coming down and DDT and Jarrett, and also when he came down from the rafters. I can't remember which Nitro it was, but he tear off his shirt and had an NWO shirt or something. And he tore it off again. No. Maybe he had that. I don't know. It's just him clearing the ring all the time when he comes down. There's not that moment. It's just all of the times.
I love you said the masks and he's got the face paint underneath.
Yeah,
and he's done that in TNA. And they've done that in AEW. Like he's done. It's become like a meme for him.
Yeah, but the Vulture is the one that Vulture didn't fly away, but just that was so freaking menacing. Yes, seeing him up there, just stoic and looking straight, just piercing the soul of whoever's in the ring, and having that Vulture. It was like,
I'll never forget the Vulture.
Get any better than that? Like, I don't think so.
Although I can I give you another one? Spring Breakout Nitro helicopter.
Oh,
descending from the rafters, descending from a helicopter. Hall and Nash were like being blown away.
Is that when Hall does the cannonball?
I think so. Yes, I think so.
You're right. You're right. That's the best. Also, I'll tell you what, man. I had this WWE magazine, and I remember this very briefly. Him and British Bulldog tag teamed for a minute. They were like
early 90s.
They were like early 90s. Very patriotic stripes and stuff, and that was really cool look, man. Like seeing both of them like that was cool.
So, how about seeing CM Punk with the face paint on?
Yeah,
that was pretty awesome.
That was fun, man. I was going to bring it up earlier.
All right, do you have number one favorite match? Is it Starrcade '97 or is it Clash of the Champions 1? Is it another one?
That's the thing with saying like he was one of my favorites, but like I don't really have like a. It's more about moments with him than it is matches. Like I think bell to bell, him and Flair at Clash is probably my favorite match of his. Although Spring Stampede '99 4-way.
Oh yeah,
him, DDP, Macho, and Flair maybe
right here.
There it is. That cover.
Okay, man.
Yeah, Macho is the referee.
He's the referee.
Right? Yeah, Hogan's
weirdly.
That match is probably not a 5-star classic. It's not
good,
probably.
Though.
It's definitely
good,
but it is really good. That's a great show.
Yeah.
So maybe that, like from bell to bell, but then, like, I think just moment though, like '97 Starrcade, like I know it's not a great match, but it's just that moment is so good.
Yeah.
How about you, match? Vader?
I rewatched Sting and Vader from Starrcade 92 earlier. That's up there for me. The Bash with Flair, where he beats him for the title, is up there for me.
War Games. Sting's. Oh,
Dude,
how about that?
yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Oh,
He's awesome in that.
oh yeah.
Sting and Luger versus the Steiner brothers from I think it's the Super Bowl, maybe, is awesome. There's too many to count. Man. Too many iconic ones to count. But the one that got away, the one that never happened, is Sting versus The Undertaker, the dream match. These guys, they've talked about it in recent years. Taker recently on a podcast or an interview, they asked him what would have happened if he would have faced The Undertaker. Taker said, I would have squashed him.
Yeah.
He was kind of joking, but he said, for him, he doesn't think it would have lived up to expectations. He thinks people built it up for so long, and they probably just never would have been what it could have dreamed of, especially in a timeline where they could have done it. So he thinks that's why it didn't happen. Sting has said he pushed for it for years. When he finally came to WWE, that's what he wanted. When he retired, he said that's the one he'd come out of retirement for. Earlier, different times in his career, he tried to make overtures to try to make it happen, and it never happened. They did actually have one in-ring encounter, only one in history that I have found any record of, and it took place September 1st, 1990 in WCW when Sting defeated Mean Mark in a world title match in Greensboro, North Carolina, in a main event of a live event. This was actually Mean Mark's final match in WCW. So kind of interesting historic match there, sort of a two paths diverging right there moment, sliding doors moment sort of for these guys. And sadly, it was at a house show. There is actually no televised footage of the one Sting
it's crazy
Mark match, which kind of gives it even more historical lore and people thinking about it. There is a YouTube video that it goes viral every couple of years, but it's not that match. It's Sting against another jobber in similar outfit, and they kind of edit in other clips of Mean Mark facing another guy in sort of neon green trunks. It's kind of well done until you actually pay attention to it for more than 10 seconds. But that's not actually footage. I'll probably post that on our social media at some point. And try to debunk that. But man, what a shame. I'd love if anybody out there listening was at the one Sting Mean Mark match. We'd love to hear from you, man. Let me. What do you think? I mean, we've talked about different reasons. Why do you think this match has been built up so long throughout the years? Is it something that you always dreamed of seeing? I mean, what is it about these two guys that just makes people fantasize about this match?
I think it's just because of this, like, especially when Sting went Crow. I think it's just because of the darkness of them both, and how they could. He wasn't like mystical like the Undertaker was, but I think just they had that aura about them, and they were just like you said, we're beating dead horse, but they're both pillars of their companies. They're both the guy that never switched, never wavered. You could always count on them, and they had the old school mentality. I think it just would have been cool to see. But again, like we always talked about, like during the Monday Night War era, it was like we want to see Austin and Goldberg. I want to see Sting and Taker, and then like Rock and DDP. Like those were probably the top three, that I wanted to see, because you got the Real People's Champion, you got the bald guy with the black trunks, and you got these two like dark characters. So I don't know. What do you think it was?
Yeah, all those same reasons. They weren't always. I don't think their characters are all that similar, but it's just what they represent, what they symbolize, who they were to their respective companies, and two guys whose careers went on for so long as they have. I mean, Taker had a 30-year career. Sting's coming up on a 40-year career. Yeah. So the longevity, the legacy that these two guys had is so similar. They were always the guys you could depend on in each company. Somebody gets hurt, some plans change. You could throw Taker in there, or you could throw Sting in there, and you can make it work. I've got a timeline here, and we're going to try to figure out when we think this match should have happened here? What's the ideal time when these two guys could have faced off? You could have had it in WCW. You could have had Sting versus Mean Mark in a little rivalry there. I'm sure Sting would have had a competitive match with Mean Mark on a Great American Bash or something, but it certainly wouldn't have the same, impact that a Sting Undertaker match would have. In the early 90s, you could have Surfer Sting versus like Dead Man, Purple Gloves, Undertaker. I mean, what do you think about that? I feel like it could have been similar to like a Taker versus Bret Hart that we got earlier on, two baby faces. Could have been fun, but I don't know if that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, I think the idea of that's cool, but I don't think that's what I would have wanted to see. I want to see them when Sting is Crow Sting.
Well, I think 98, 99 would have been like late 98, early 99 would have been a really interesting pairing there where you got Crow Sting, maybe even would have been Wolfpack Sting at that point. But I think I would have loved to see black and white Crow Sting with like that early heel Ministry Undertaker, right after he turns heel in late 98, starting to become the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker. I think those two characters would have really meshed well together and could have gotten some really exciting stuff out of that.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool. That's probably the primo time to take those two characters and put them together. I think you're right. So
I don't know how the match would have been.
Yeah.
Like in ring wise, but character wise could have been exciting.
Yeah, it would have been fun. So now, are we gonna fantasy book what actually we thought could have happened, or is that because I have a scenario I laid out for what possibly could have happened? Because that obviously would not have happened. They were in two separate companies,
right?
So
yeah, I want to do that.
Okay, I don't want to jump ahead, but yeah, I think that ideally that's what you take. You take 98, 99.
That's your ideal.
Sting and 98, 99 Undertaker and put them together. That's probably the peak of their characters. All
right, I want to talk about a couple other possibilities there. I think you could have had in WCW ends. You could have had 01, 02, maybe Big Evil Undertaker again as a heel against a babyface Sting coming into WWE. There, either during, you could have had him in the Invasion for sure, or right after that when Taker turns heel could have been interesting. The one I was really for sure thought definitely was going to happen was
2015. Oh, 11. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta.
Yeah.
At the perfect time. I saw a fan-made poster online, and I knew it was fan-made, but it still got me so hyped, where it's like a parody of the Dark Knight poster. Sting's holding the Joker card in front of his face, half his face, and it's got the Undertaker on there. Just seeing that made me like, oh God, I need this. And we were going to Mania 27. We thought it'd be the perfect place for him to debut. Sadly, didn't happen. 2015, obviously, I think everyone was thinking that Sting is here. Why don't we give us Sting and Undertaker? It's finally happening. Well, let's just run with it. Let's go with it.
2011 was when he had that rainy outdoor Western cottage thing, right?
Also that.
And it was like, people were like, it was like 2/11 or something when he was coming back, and people were like, oh, it's kind of misty and looks like a scorpion. Like, people were reading way too much. I was like, oh, this could be
I bought into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think 2016 might have made even more sense than 2015 because you got the biggest WrestleMania of all time to that point. They're trying to sell out the Cowboys Stadium. So you need an iconic match there. I wonder if that might have been in the running for that night if Sting had not gotten hurt, because we ended up getting Undertaker versus Shane McMahon, which made no sense. And going back, that story makes no sense. Oh, it kind of makes more sense nowadays.
I was gonna say, now we know what was probably in the lot box.
Yeah. In hindsight, it makes a ton of sense. But at the time, it was like Shane McMahon. It was cool, but it was also like
rando,
really random. Wonder if maybe the biggest WrestleMania ever would have been more exciting to see Sting and Undertaker there.
If he hadn't got hurt with Seth, maybe that was what was in the cards.
Yeah. 2018 or 19, I'm kind of shocked we didn't see him bust this out for one of these Saudi Arabia shows where they're pulling out Sting and Undertaker and Goldberg and all this crazy stuff. Triple H and Randy Orton having their final match. Why not bust Sting out for this for a quickie with Undertaker? Yeah. And you definitely could have done it. Maybe if the Goldberg match didn't go as poorly as it did, maybe it could have been more receptive to that. And then certainly, I think we all maybe thought there was a chance of a cinematic match. Anything could have been possible after the Boneyard
2020,
match. Yeah, why not do something with these guys? Could have been really exciting.
Would have been cool, but he signed with AEW. So
he signed with AEW and said, so out of those, which one are you picking? How are you booking it, man? You said you had an idea.
Well, I have something that has nothing to do with any of those.
All right, even better.
Can I book this for you real quick?
Of course.
All right, I had to write this down. So I've got my idea. Sting versus Taker, WrestleMania 18. Here's the deal.
WrestleMania 18, okay.
So this is where he fights Flair. Okay, so don't bring him in for the invasion because invasion is what it is. Invasion runs just like it did. Obviously, ideally, we'd have him there, but I'm just going to go with I'm going to go in with stuff that I think could have happened. So, at the end of the invasion, we get Ric Flair. He's the consortium that bought the shares or whatever. So they buy his contract out of Warner, and he comes in. So then we know 2 months later, the NWO comes in, right? Because they're going to be, and that's what going to lead to Rock and Hogan at Mania and some of that. So let's just say Flair comes in. I don't remember if he was the antagonist or protagonist against Taker. Somehow he winds up facing Taker at WrestleMania. I don't know who was the good guy and who was the bad guy at this point, honestly.
Well, Flair was the good guy.
Flair was a good guy, but then I think once he takes over Raw, he becomes a bad guy. I don't know. Anyway, that's after Mania though. So anyway, so let's keep Flair as he's the head of, or he bought the shares or whatever. So he invents own WWF now. You can have them going back and forth or whatever, and then Flair's going to Vince is bringing in the NWO to kill the Poison or whatever. Well, Flair can be like, well, I'm going to bring in somebody to go against, your biggest guy. Or maybe he and Flair can even go. I don't have all this part worked out, the early part. Like he and Flair, maybe Taker and Flair can have their match at No Way Out or at Royal Rumble, maybe even. Instead of McMahon and Flair at Royal Rumble, maybe it's Taker and Flair there. So maybe Taker is kind of Vince's guy, his proxy. Or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, we get Taker can be a tweener for whatever. It's Taker. Who cares? Anyway, I don't know. I don't care. But then anyway, we wind up getting to Flair's like, I'm going to bring in somebody that I know can, take your biggest guy down. You brought in NWO or whatever. I'm going to bring in, somebody else. And so maybe at the Rumble, there's even like just a flash of like the crow call or whatever, or the lights go out, whatever. And there's that during the Rumble. Taker gets distracted. Again, he's still American BA at this point, right? So he gets a distraction. Maybe Flair throws him out of the Rumble or something. I don't know. Whatever. I don't care about all that part. The point is that we get to No Way Out. It could be maybe Flair and Arn versus Taker. I don't care. It's something. But at some point in the match, it's Flair and Booker T. Maybe it's Booker T. I don't know if he was doing anything at No Way Out. So
sure.
So there's like another distraction like that, and maybe Taker can get the win, or they can get a fluke win over him, whatever it is. But Sting he's not going to be a heel when he comes in, but he's kind of distracting Taker or whatever. So we don't know it's Sting for sure. We just kind of get little glimpses and glimmers of what it is. So then after that, like, Taker is going to leave TV, whether it's Royal Rumble or No Way Out, I don't know, whatever. He's going to leave TV, and Flair's going to keep telling him, like, if you, I want your best. I want you at your best. I want my guy at his best versus you at your best. So I want you as the dead man. And so Taker's going to go back to the dead man 2 years earlier here. But we're not going to see it play out on screen yet. We're going to kind of see him. He's off screen. He's off television for whatever this month or two is in between. So we're going to kind of get vignettes of him, just voiceovers. We don't want to see him as Dead Man yet. We don't want to see him yet. We don't want the reveal. He's still last thing we saw was him as the American BA. So, and then we can get some voiceovers of Flair talking about Sting, maybe even show some clips of old matches of them or whatever. Like, we know at this point we're going to know it's Sting coming. We just don't know what Sting is going to be, So then he found the right guy, or I found the right guy to take you on, Undertaker, and then Taker can give his voiceover later on, and they can do all kind of theatrics with this and do a graveyard and do caskets and have a casket open up with scorpions in it or something. They can do all kinds of stuff. They can have so much fun with it. I don't have all the screws tightened here, but I just got this idea I came up with earlier. So then maybe one final like voiceover Taker's like, I found the right guy and I found the dead. Maybe you just see like the silhouette of him in the hat. Again, you don't see him as Undertaker. We don't want to reveal that till WrestleMania. So then the Raw or SmackDown before Mania X8, we get maybe the XT symbols kind of in the ring, like Taker's back, that Taker's back. And then, there's smoke billowing out or whatever like that. And then on the Tron flashes up and you just kind of see not Sting like from the last Nitro where it's bats him, but like you see maybe a far distance and just a silhouette of him, and then maybe all you see is just an arm and a bat just pointing toward the XT symbol in the ring. So you just kind of know, this is the Sting coming for Taker, and then that's it, just like a silhouette of him, or maybe the black bat, maybe he picks the bat up off the floor and just points it toward the XT. So then at WrestleMania 18, Taker comes out first as Deadman. So he's back as the Deadman, crowd's loving it, boom, 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 loving it. He's back as Deadman, and then is Sting going to show up or not? We kind of get the blackout, get the same little lasers from Starrcade 97, the Scorpion on top, and then, boom, down from the rafters. Here comes Sting. So you got it down from the rafters. And, again, I think that would be the sickest time and the sickest intro for them to have done this. Again, it would change a lot of things in history. Taker would go back to Deadman real quick. But I think that could have been feasible. They could have bought his contract out. They could have, it could have made it happen. You know? And then again, the match.
I think if they pitched that to him, he would have come in for something like that. He would have let his contract be bought out to do something like that. Because this is what he said he wanted to do. So yeah.
And we know that Taker's going to win because it's Vince and he's going to win. But this was, if you remember, X8's the first night that he does the. It becomes a thing though, so maybe he could defeat. But again, he wouldn't win definitively. I want him to get kind of a fluky win over it. Maybe Flair even turns on him because Flair always turns on Sting. Yes, or maybe the NWO from earlier in the NWO's back now. Maybe them from earlier in the night even come out and distract because they're going to get their hands on everything because Vince wants to poison. Vince brought the NWO in as bad guys, but Flair's bringing Sting as a good guy. So, they could be – there's a lot of different stuff you can play with there. But so not a clean victory, but, one that Sting loses to Taker, but you can set up for – they got more to come, maybe at SummerSlam or whatever. So you don't want to give it all away right here. But I don't know. I just thought that was – I love it. I don't have all the screws tightened. There's so many details, but I was thinking like, man, a casket with scorpions in it and stuff like that. There's so many things they could have, the urn and scorpions could walk out. Whatever. There's so many things that could – or Taker could step on a scorpion. There's just so much that could happen, dude. Like it'd be so fun.
Drives the motorcycle over a scorpion.
Sure,
motorcycle wheel.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so much. And I think I was trying to think logically, when could it actually have happened? And I think that's the earliest it actually could have happened.
Well, it's a really cool butterfly effect moment because Sting probably stays around there for a while. Sting probably goes on to have a long run in WWE. So who else could you imagine him fighting in WWE from 2002 to 2010 or 12? Like, does his career end a lot earlier at that point? Is he a little more satisfied and willing to walk away sooner? Does TNA even exist if Sting doesn't join up with them at that point? Like, are they able to keep running without that sort of major moment to help push them along? And here we are, they're still around somehow 22 years later. I love the creativity there. It's not something I would have ever come up with at that timeline. So that's awesome. I'm sold.
Came to me this afternoon, man. I just thought that to me is the ultimate. So
who do you have on the call?
Got to get JR, man.
Yeah,
got to get JR on the call. Yeah, JR Michael Cole, I guess. So
no, not Michael Cole. Get the King on there. Or get
Yes.
JR and get JR and Shivani. Hire
They're
Shivani.
Dusty. Dusty.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, baby.
Yeah. But anyway, that's yeah.
I think yours is better than mine even. But yeah, I think like it never would have happened, but I think fantasy wise, like I said, 98, 99 would have been awesome. Sting could have been Sting because he was Sting long before WCW. So, even before WCW went out of business and WWE bought the WCW rights, he could have come over and been Sting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like because he owned that character. So that could have happened there. Undertaker couldn't have gone over to WCW ever and done that. So I don't think the match should have ever happened in WCW.
No.
Like I said, Mania 27 would have been an awesome time in my opinion. But I think, to me, that 2016
that'd have been cool.
WrestleMania, I think the one you picked, both guys would have been in their primes and could have given the best match. But 2016, here's how I thought about it. You still do Triple H Sting at Mania 30.
31.
In 15. You still do Undertaker Bray Wyatt, except you have Sting beat Triple H this time. Because really, I think Triple H won mainly so that he could look strong coming out later to do the thing with Rock and Ronda Rousey.
And that was supposed to lead to him and Rock.
That match the next year.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that match didn't end up happening, so we don't have Triple H to win anymore. So have Sting win. He gets that first big win. Again, you still use Sting sparingly. He comes in, does the Seth Rollins match. Maybe he still loses that, and then the Authority comes in and does this big beatdown on Sting and the Undertaker. We hear the gong hit, lights go out. Undertaker saves the day and helps Sting against the Authority.
Nice.
Then, how about Survivor Series 2015? How about we do Sting and the Undertaker versus Seth Rollins and
Kane?
Yeah, corporate.
Yeah.
Kane. How about we get a Sting Undertaker team up?
Jamie Noble.
Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury, J&J Security, 4-on-2. Why not?
Survivor Series.
I don't think people ever think about that, but I think that would have been pretty neat to see them team up with each other. Then you could kind of maybe build like some tension between. Maybe they lose the match. Undertaker gets beat up or isn't able to save Sting or something like that. So you get a little tension between the two, and maybe Sting gets frustrated with Undertaker. So, a couple nights later on Raw, or maybe even at the Royal Rumble or something similar to what you talked about, we see Sting show up out of nowhere, pull the Undertaker's hair back. The Under Frazier at that point pulls the receding hairline back and gets him in that Scorpion Death Drop, and then just points the bat up to that WrestleMania sign, and symbolizes, okay, we're going to WrestleMania. Now, again, you never have these guys really touch besides then. It's just videos. It's just vignettes.
Wonderful.
Different
wonderful
guys they're cutting promos. Mind games are going on with each other. Build it up for the biggest WrestleMania, 100,000 people in attendance. Undertaker versus Sting at WrestleMania. You get JR on the call. I'd love to see them get Tony Schiavone in there, to represent WCW. That'd be amazing. But I think, I see it going really, both guys they're really just bouncing off each other at the beginning. Nothing is phasing the other person. And then Undertaker really starts to work over Sting, because Sting could sell, man. Yeah, he was awesome as the baby face who's getting beat up, getting pounded on. Maybe Undertaker, of course, it's the running big boot into the corner and misses that, as he has his signature thing to do. Yeah. Sting is able to recover for a minute, get a wrap on the Scorpion Deathlock, can't quite get it in. Of course, we see a bat come into play. Maybe Undertaker's going for a last ride, and Sting gets the bat up and pops him on the head with
like
it.
Triple H did with the sledgehammer.
Triple H did.
X7.
Yeah. Sort of, you do a similar thing, or where he's doing that, in the Hell's Gate maybe, and he has to tap out to that. I do think Undertaker's beating Sting. I don't think there's any scenario where Sting's beating Undertaker at this point in time.
Yeah.
If you go back to your era, you could have done whatever.
What if you have Taker hit the tombstone on him and Sting pops up? Like he know how he gets a good nose and he pops up and dude, that 100,000 people would lose their mind, dude.
Yeah.
Or even, maybe not Tombstone chokeslam, but a Tombstone.
Do it on the
him
Tombstone.
to pop up,
Absolutely.
Dude, that would be wild.
Yes.
I love this, dude.
Yes, I think you're right. That's one of Sting's signatures too.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I would love.
They
to
both
see that.
are like the king of the perfect time no sell. You know.
Absolutely.
And have him do a death drop to Taker, and he's kind of winded sitting there, and Taker does the sit up, looks at him and kind of replay that whole him and Brock thing, like sit up at the same time. That's cool.
Oh, they would have had some moment in there in that match. There's some memeable moment in there.
Yeah.
So I think Undertaker goes over in every scenario pretty much.
That's fine.
But it's one of the marquee moments on there. I'll take that any day over Sting and over Undertaker and Shane McMahon. As fun as that was, I'm taking Undertaker Sting at Mania 32 over that. That's my idea.
I like it. I like both our ideas. They're good stuff.
I think so too, and it's a shame it didn't happen for whatever reason. There's all sorts of reasons people can come up with, but we'll never truly know. But what's just to close this out? What do you think Sting's legacy is in the world of professional wrestling? How will you remember Sting's career?
Just iconic moments. Like I said, it's not about the matches for me with him. It's moments, I don't know if there's another guy that I have that with, like the matches don't necessarily matter that much. It's more about the moments. And I think that's his thing. Just the long lasting legacy, which is how many guys he worked with and just the pillar he was for WCW. He was the John Cena. John Cena has said, this is the reason I cut my hair short and and wanted to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to be Sting. He wanted to be Sting. So, and even if you look at the prototype, he had like a Sting build, so it's just, I think he's a pillar, dude. We keep saying that about like Taker is too, but he's just a pillar. And have you ever heard somebody say anything bad about Sting?
No, nothing.
No. If the worst criticism he gets is he wasn't tan enough, that's okay.
That's the thing. Like there will probably never be like some Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar type stories coming out.
Nobody talks crap about him. Nobody talks crap about Taker. Those two guys, they don't talk crap. Not because you're scared, because there's nothing to talk crap about. Because those guys have like.
Well, I mean, I think even there's definitely talk about Taker, to some level by some people, but you don't hear that about Sting. Not at all. Like even if it's just political stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody says that about Sting. You never hear a bad word about it.
Yep.
Well, we heard some good stuff from all of you out there, and we want to continue to hear it. We'd love to hear, which scenario do you like? Do you like Travis's from 2002? Do you like mine from 2016? What's your dream scenario, whether it's fantasy, whether it's realistic? When would you have liked to have seen Undertaker Sting? When, who would you have wanted to win? How do you think the match should have gone? Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Leave a comment and let us know your thoughts about those. Let us know your favorite Sting memories. We did hear from a few of you out there on social media. It is
social mania.
But William McCluth said Sting would have won this fantasy match because Taker's a coward. I don't know where he's getting that from.
And heard the podcast much.
Tubai Mana said Undertaker, without a doubt, would have beaten Sting. Chris Sulema, who has commented a lot, and we appreciate all your support, Chris. He said, sometimes I think either whether or not you would have wanted to see this match. He says, sometimes I think either way, I wish we got it. And sometimes I'm glad it didn't happen. So, I think, maybe in some ways it would never would have lived up to those expectations. So maybe it's good that it lives in our brains, just in fantasy world. And that's how Randy Turco feels. We've done this whole episode dreaming about this match. We'll give the alternate opinion. And he's always said this. We've heard him say this before. He said, never saw the correlation everyone else has. They both were black. I don't know. But he does agree. Having this maybe in 97, 98 could have been amazing just because these two guys are so good at their craft.
Yeah.
Sting didn't have the supernatural powers, though, and Taker did. So Undertaker wins by 100. So, Randy's going to choose Undertaker.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear some other fantasy booking. Maybe this inspired all you out there. So please hit us up and listen. Leave a rating or review, subscribe, listen to the podcast, go back in the archives and listen to all our episodes. Think about that during WrestleMania season. Relive the streak with us. You said you had your buddy Trey had some. Or did you already throw those in?
I think I sprinkled most of those in. Let's see. He said his 3 favorite moments, not necessarily matches, were the fake Sting storyline, Sting, Seth Rollins, and just the entire feud with the NWO. So even though it ended with the kind of a debacle, that was his stuff. But he said Surfer Sting, Soldier on Pro Wrestling, Crow was such a different one, and he'll just never forget that spotlight on him in the Rafters and just those moments on Nitro. So man. He likes both versions, but leans more toward Crow as his favorite. Joker Sting, nah, he said. So, yeah.
You're wrong on that one, Trey.
Joker Sting's fun. Yeah.
We're okay with Joker
Agree
Sting.
To disagree. Yeah.
Exactly. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you don't already, you can watch the full live video versions of our podcast over there, as well as some of my action figure unboxings on there. You can check out the vlogs from our trips. And you never know when some exclusive YouTube content is going to be coming to the Talking Taker YouTube channel. So I would love a subscription there, a subscription on all your podcast services. You never know when some bonus episodes might be coming out to your podcast feed. Of course, we throw a classic episode back from the dead at the top of your podcast feed every month. And I shared our WrestleMania 20 episode recently, reliving that memory 20 years ago. Brother.
Dude.
Can you believe
wild. It? I remember like it was yesterday. I was just telling the story about the subway the other day at work. So
one of the best episodes we did. You hear our entire epic story of going to WrestleMania 20 on that episode. So be sure to check that out. Of course, our friends, the Bottom Line Wrestling Cast, they are back with their first new episode in a few months, with them doing the conclusion to the Hollywood Blondes saga. So the end of that tag team with Stunning Steve and Flying Brian. Great episode from those guys. And they'll continue on with Stunning Steve's run through their next episode. So check them out. Check out our friend Watch Along Tommy on his YouTube channel, Watch Along Wrestling. I know he's going to have a bunch of content going into WrestleMania season. Be sure to give him a subscription. And I think next month, we kind of bounced it around. I think maybe we'll change our mind, but I think our idea is maybe to do, it's not fantasy, but again, it's a throwback episode. We're going to talk about the Undertaker versus the Iron Claw. So we've got some matches of Mark Callis and some different gimmicks Mark Calloway and some different gimmicks against the Von Erichs. Yeah. All the way back from the 80s. He wrestled in World Class, had some interaction with the Von Erichs, and of course, that's the movie that's taken the world by storm over the past few months.
The Oscar nominations.
Didn't get Oscar nominations, but got a ton of buzz, and it is finally out on digital media, so even more people can watch it, including myself, who couldn't make it out to the theaters to watch it. So I think you and I will talk about what we liked or didn't like about the movie, give her a little review of the movie, and talk about The Undertaker versus the Von Erichs. So that'll be another interesting episode, a different path for us to go down for next month's episode, for our April episode. So be on the lookout for that. Be sure you're subscribed. Like I said, check out our TeePublic store. You can follow our WWE shop link in the show notes and use that to pick up any more last minute merch you want for WrestleMania weekend. And man, you got anything else? Anything else you want to promote?
Don't think so. I think that's it, man. About wraps it up for us here on Sting. We had a supersized episode tonight of Spit and Venom.
Venom.
Yeah. And Sting, I will leave you with this. It's off my wife's new desk here. Much love, brother.
I was hoping you were going to pull out the Wrestle Buddy.
You're breaking my right arm. Yeah. No, I did have that.
You had that.
I also had the mask. I got it at the house show from Augusta. Yeah, that was my favorite piece of Sting merchandise. Was the mask. It was so flippin' sweaty when you put it on. Golly, it was awful. It was like a rainforest in there, dude. So
did you dress up as Sting for Halloween, or did you just wear the mask?
Yeah, we wore it at the house, we'd wrestle and stuff like that. So I remember it got a chip in it, like it broke down at the bottom, and I hated that. And I never got a chance to get another one. So Yeah, it was miserable.
Did you have the action figure set where it was like all the different eras staying in there?
I don't think I had that. I think I just had I know I had a couple Stings. I don't think I got that set though. Dude, back then that set was crazy expensive for the kind of money I had.
Like $30.
Yeah, I didn't have that, dude. I had to mow like 14 lawns for that. So, yeah. But anyway, no, man, we appreciate you guys sticking with us tonight for Spit and Venom. And what are your favorite Sting memories, Sting matches, Sting moments? Which Sting do you prefer? If you were there at Clash when he went 45 minutes, almost to Broadway, we went 45 minutes with Flair. We want to hear about it. I have one last thing. I do want to say this. I watched this compilation today on WWE YouTube. It was a every Sting title win in WCW.
Oh, cool.
Not one of them was a clean or like a. Okay, let me rephrase it. They were the first win was clean, but it was like just a quick roll, like a small package. So that is a clean win, but it's not like a definitive DDT or a Scorpion Deathlock you tap out. So that's that. There's not another like clean one. Like Harley Race interferes in a couple with Vader and somebody else. The only like clean one is just him hitting a move and then pinning a guy. Is him and DDP on that episode of Nitro where he wins it and then loses it later.
Yeah, I watched that live.
DDP goes to Diamond Cut him on the corner and he stops it, hits him with a Scorpion Death Drop and pins him. And that's the only one that doesn't have some sort of either outside interference or just like a quick roll up. Because I think when he beats Luger in '92, it's just a crossbody off the top and he just kind of pins him, which again, it's clean, but it's not like iconic like finisher one. So I just thought it was interesting. Like he never, like the thing with Hogan, even in '98 at Fall Brawl when he wins, that's not clean either though. It's still screwy and stuff. So yeah, it's just I thought it was interesting.
I feel like that's like old school NWA, like
it's great though. Yeah.
I thought so too. Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. Like it wasn't like a WWF like finish. It was all like
that's some of my favorite finishes.
I love it. Yeah.
It comes out of nowhere.
I love those. But yeah, it was just interesting. He never got a definitive like, got that win, but just that one over DDP, which he lost later. So anyway, that being said, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next month. It'll be right before WrestleMania. So maybe you and I get to watch maybe at least one night together. Maybe you can come up here and watch
talking about it. Yeah.
Looking forward to if that happens. But stay classy out there. Always go to support your local Chinese food and ribs, like I'm sporting the Joe the Butcher hat tonight. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, take her easy.
Ooh.
What's that?